Welcome back to Lying Serpent Media, Gatekeepers, Instigators, and Players. Today we will be discussing Representative ILhan, or shall I say ILhan Omar, and why Congress wants to remove her from office. She has been quoted as saying anti-Semitic statements. Why is it so objectionable, the things that she is saying? Is there any truth to anything that she is saying? She mentioned the Zionists in Israel and what's going on over there against the Palestinian people. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's some truth to what the woman is saying. Now, her problem is she struck at the head of the serpent. I mentioned in an earlier video about a book called Pawns in the Game. This is the book right here. Pawns in the Game by William Guy Carr. This man, just like Alberto Rivera, Abraham Lincoln, and many others who tried to tell the truth, was put to death. In this book, he states some of the things that validate what ILhan Omar is saying. Let's review, as I stated in a previous video as well, about the securing of Israel for the Jews, this agreement that was made behind the scenes back in 1948 by these international bankers, these Zionists. So let's get to it. These are the words from the book of Pawns in the Game. Now, the original draft of the mandate on Palestine reads, to turn Palestine into a national home for the Jews. It was altered at the last minute to read, to establish a national home for the Jew in Palestine. This was done to conceal the secret ambitions of the Zionists. The international bankers deliberately concealed the truth regarding the vast mineral deposits geologists had discovered in Palestine until after the government of Britain, France, and the United States had agreed to their mandate of Palestine. The international bankers used Zionism to obtain control of a centrally located sovereign state from which they could extend the control they now exert over Russia to cover the entire world. I also mentioned in previous videos about this hidden power, these secret societies, the elite of the world, working behind the scenes to bring the world to a certain result, the New World Order under the Pope's rule. If you don't know this, the international bankers, the head of the international bankers is the Rothschilds family. This man had about 10 sons, and he dispatched them to heads of state, to rulers and monarchs, and they worked their way, getting close to these people so that they could have this position they have in the world today. They are the treasurers for the Vatican, and they are still carrying out this plot to bring the United States to a certain end. Now, ILhan Omar, she should have been more skillful at what she wants to do. She was just too vocal about the anti-Semitic, but when she struck on that word Zionist and Zionism, that hit the head of the serpent. Let's review some history from William Guy Carr book in regards to what took place during the years of 1914 to 1934. He says that the last international bankers fomented World War I to bring about conditions favorable for revolutionary action and thus enable them to obtain undisputed control of the Russian Empire, to remove the crown heads of state of Europe. These rulers had to be removed before either group could achieve their totalitarianism ambitions, to force the British, French governments to agree to establish a national home for the Jews in Palestine. The government of Britain was forced to aid the international bankers' plan for the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia in 1917 in order to obtain their promise that they would bring America into the war on the side of the Allies. Here we go with the false flag attacks that start these wars He's validating that. It can be assumed that the SS Lusitania was sunk to provide the necessary incident to justify the change of American policy, just as Pearl Harbor was used as an excuse for America to enter World War II. Now, I was stationed in Hawaii, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, and when we used to do our PT and run on that back path on the post, it was called Koli Koli Pass. Now, this Koli Koli Pass is where the Japanese flew in and bombed Pearl Harbor, flew in unobstructed. Why did they fly in unobstructed? For the very reason that William Guy Carr just stated, so that America could have a reason to enter the war. See, I told you before, people, things are planned behind the scenes to bring about a certain result in the world. We have to study history. We have to open our eyes and see what's really going on. You cannot trust what the lying serpent media, gatekeepers, instigators, and players are telling you. We must touch on one more thing, that spiritual element. I told you, it will always be there. Now let's look at what William Guy Carr had to say in regards to communism and Nazism. Communism and Nazism have several things in common. Both are an atheistic creed which deny the existence of Almighty God. They both advocate war, hatred, and force, as opposed to Christ's policy of peace, love, and teaching. The leaders of both atheistic, materialistic ideologies must therefore be agents of the devil. They further the diabolical conspiracy to win the souls of men away from loyalty and obedience to Almighty God. They both use a form of Grand Orient Masonry for proselytizing purposes. The head of Council of 33 is the president of the top executives, Council of 13, previously referred to, because the initiating ceremonies of all Grand Orient Lodges require a candidate to swear he will acknowledge no other mortal as above the head of the organization. That head is automatically God on earth. The international bankers have always been the top executives of the Grand Orient Lodge in Masonry in 1770. Aryan warlords have always been the top executive of the German lodges. They select their own successors. So you see, people, as I stated time and time and time again, that spiritual warfare, that spiritual element will always be there. People must acknowledge that this is a fallen world. The things of the Bible is true. We must acknowledge it. I mentioned in a previous video the securing of Israel in 1948 and what those so-called Jews did to the Jews that was black like me. They called them niggers. I have a video tape that actually shows how they tricked these parents and allowing their children to go on a field trip. And where did they take these kids? They took these kids to a facility, and you know what they did to them? They radiated their brains. A lot of these children died, and the ones that survived the radiation treatment that they did to these children was mentally and physically deformed. So you see, there will always be tension in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine, because there are some people that are old now that remember these things, how they were treated, how they were murdered when these so-called Jews moved in to secure Israel for these so-called Jews that are not descendants of Abraham. So ILhan Omar has a reason she is saying the things she is saying. There is truth to the things that she is saying. Now you might be wondering why I'm validating what she is saying. I'm not a Muslim, no. But I must acknowledge the truth and acknowledge what the woman is saying to be true, because I read and I studied them. I didn't learn these things in the good old government education that they give us. No, these things were hidden from us for a reason, to keep us dumb and ignorant. You have to go outside of that good government public education and re-educate yourself and learn the truths of history, the facts. This is the whole point of lying serpent media gatekeepers, instigators, and players, is to turn sheeple back to people. Well, we will continue to discuss these things and why certain things are hidden and written out of history. Thanks for tuning in to Lying Serpent Media Gatekeepers, Instigators, and Players.